Alright, and we should be live. If anyone can say if they can hear me okay, that would be much appreciated. And if the stream is looking smooth, it's looking a little bit choppy for me, but it's difficult to know. Hi Rod. Can you hear me, Rod? That is the question. And I can see there's a giant delay on streaming. I haven't really tried this before, so you'll have to bear with me. Even if you set it to low latency, it's still taking a while. Okay, yeah, it's a bit difficult because I don't have a microphone stand yet, so I'll just have to try and talk a little bit louder. Okay, so I don't really have much of a plan for this stream. I'll just show off a little bit what I've been working on. I've been playing around a little bit with Godot 4. I was hoping to make a full full scene like I've done before with my desert scene and with the scene in the fantasy cellar, but I didn't really have enough time to finish a whole scene, and I ran into a lot of issues with Godot 4, but I had the idea that I could try and make a scene similar to the very first scene I tried to make, which was actually a little grassy field with a house and some trees and stuff like that. It's choppy now, yeah? Yeah. I'm getting a warning as well here on the stream. Okay. I don't know that there's a lot I can do about it right now. Hopefully it'll get better. Hi, Rathapol. Yeah, I'm not sure what the issue is because I'm sending plenty of data and I should have plenty of bandwidth. Hopefully the sound is okay. So this little scene, one thing I've fought with for a long time in Godot is to try and make trees. So these are some test trees that I've been making, and probably the best I've managed to make any tree so far in Godot. I can't see my gizmos. Can't seem to select. There we are. These one thing that's a bit interesting about these is that they're using custom normals. Sorry if my keyboard is loud, by the way. There's nothing I can really do about that. So what you might be able to see here is that the normals of the leaves here on the crown are spherical. So you get this nice soft look for the crown of the trees, and that's something that people use in a lot of game assets to give this soft or more cartoony look, or more realistic look, maybe, just because you can't really have individual leaves. So this is finally working in Godot 4 because I've tried to do this in Godot 3 a ton of times and it hasn't worked. I also tried to do something a bit interesting with the grass, with using a single texture where it samples randomly. Let me see if I can find that. It samples randomly one of the four, which I thought was a nice little way of still just using, these are just multi-mesh instances, but they're all using the same mesh and the same material, and then they're just randomly sampling, which was a nice little trick. So yeah, these are some of the things I've been working on. Oh, and the big thing, of course, that I've been testing out is the fog volumes, which are really cool. So if we sort of find the right place where the sun shines through some of these trees, you can sort of see that they create these light beams down through the trees with the shadows. So that's really cool. So unfortunately, the fog volume is sort of pretty low resolution. Hi JJ. So I was sort of hoping that you could do these like really complicated volumetric shapes, but that doesn't really seem to be possible. So, but you can do these, like you can do something soft like this, and then this is just a fog volume where I've added a shader that creates noise that changes the density and moves the noise a little bit. So this is really, really simple to make now in Godot 4. I'm not doing anything fancy and custom. I have this very sad looking lake which I wanted to do something more with, but it's just a reflection probe, because the screen space reflections in Godot 4 are about as broken as they were in Godot 3 as well. So that's a bit of a shame. Let me see. I'm guessing it's still not really working with the stream very well. I'm still getting warnings here. I don't know if there's anything I can do about it. I would change. Poor. Sorry guys. If anyone could let me know if it's still choppy, that would be great. Okay, so and then the mountains here, we just have we're even getting nice little God rays a bit between them here. Yeah, the volumetric stuff really is quite nice. So yeah, these they don't really have any materials on them. I just made this thing where it it puts snow on flat objects, and this is just a shader where you find the world normal, and then you add in the normal maps as well into it. So this was about what I got around to making here. Part of the problem, of course, is that we don't have it terrain. We don't have a terrain in Godot 4. We don't even have any add-ons that work. Ops is struggling. Okay, can I stop the stream and start it again? Might that help? I wonder. Maybe it's just the scene actually that's doing it. Does it help anything if I make the window smaller? I know that's not great, but is it because my GPU is working overtime? Did this make any difference? It's still giving me a warning. Okay. Can I do that while it's running? Probably not. Okay, I will try and stop the stream and get back on in a second. I'll try and change it. JJ, I will come back and answer that hopefully in 1 minute. I'll just try and stop the stream and start it again. So are we back, and is it any better is the question. I tried to go over to CPU, so hopefully that helped. It seems like everything is running smooth on my side and I'm no longer getting a warning, so I hope that helped. If you guys can let me know, that would be great. Oh, okay, that's great. Thanks, JJ. Okay, yeah, so good question about the grass. So the thing is, of course, normally you might use the terrain system or something to this, but you don't have a terrain system in Godot, and you don't have any add-ons for it. So I made I wrote a script for that. It's this script here. So basically I'm just going over the entire plane mesh, and then I'm spawning a bunch, 500,000 pieces of grass, and I'm evenly distributing it, and I'm actually I set it up so you could put it into many little multi-mesh instances instead of just putting it into one, because that of course should and that's basically also similar to what Silent does in his terrain system. because of course then we can still have some frustrum culling happening when the grass is out of view, right? Like we couldn't do that if everything was just in one big multi-mesh instance. It was actually a fun little let me see, I have the scene for it. It was a fun little thing to make, because I also made it so it could it can spawn all these and it can align with the normal of the object. So yeah, you can easily make some kind of like fur ball or something. And like I'm aligning with the terrain here. So actually, if you sort of see the whole thing without trees, if we turn off the trees, you can sort of see that it sort of follows the terrain, the normals of it, so it gets a pretty nice look. So let me have a look. Okay. So yeah, there's probably not really any reason to do any global illumination in this scene, because there's not really that much bound sliding. You know, like there would theoretically be some bound sliding, I guess on the mountains or something on the ground going up under the trees. But yeah, I don't think it would do all that much. I haven't really tested it on this. What you would more need to do would be actually some kind of like occlusion stuff under the trees, so you would get more of that darkness under the trees. So you might be able to do that with reflection probes. I haven't really given that a go. So yeah, I didn't really get all that far. There was lots of issues, some of them very interesting, I ran into trying to use Godot 4. The biggest issue is probably that transparency is just really, really weird at the moment. I don't know what I can try. I can try and just make a new scene here. Sorry with the... Just create plane mesh. So if we just set a standard material, like the transparency stuff, I don't know who set this up, but the transparency stuff is just wrong. The transparency mode, you can choose between alpha, alpha sister, alpha hash, and depth prepass. Why is depth prepass a transparency version? You need to be able to enable depth prepass while you have alpha or alpha sister on for it to do correct depth sorting. So you can't do that. At the moment, I'm not using transparency at all. I'm discarding pixels because otherwise you can't get any shadows to work. Shadows disable on transparent objects as soon as alpha is mentioned, and I cannot find any way around that. So I think someone has done something wrong with how transparency is set up. Like a lot of it looks way better now. It looks more correct. But there's some stuff that's just not working. Like I couldn't have shadows on the grass here or on the treetops without doing the workarounds I've been doing. So yeah, there's definitely a lot of stuff that's still not working. Screen space reflections can't work with anything that has any transparency as well. So that's not working either. So yeah, it's been a bit tough going. Another like it's been nice. There's been a lot of nice stuff with working Godot 4 a bit. Like all the new GD script features are really nice. The importing of meshes is so much nicer. We can have a look at that in a second. So yeah, that's a good question. It's handling a lot, I can tell you that. We can try and set up some information here. So I guess, is this not telling us how many verts we are rendering? It's just telling us how many primitives. It's saying we're rendering 9 million primitives, but we actually only have 20 draw calls, which is probably because we're using so many MMIs. But that's interesting because it actually looks like it's auto batching the trees then, because the trees are not in MMIs. They're individual meshes that are all using the same mesh data, but it looks like it's putting them into single draw calls, so that's really good. But yeah, the performance does seem to be really good considering like the absurd amount of meshes and shadows I'm throwing at it. I think it's the shadows that are slowing it down more than the actual mesh rendering. But yeah, but what we can see here is I am using a GTX 980 Ti, so pretty powerful GPU, but a bit of an older one. So yeah, so this I think is just absolutely wonderful. The new mesh importing it, like I know this has been mentioned many times, but it's just working so much better than the old one, and you can actually set external specific materials. Like I'm not importing this with materials because I ended up creating materials custom in the engine, but like it works way better. You can just manage so many things. I don't think it's reading in the names of the materials correctly. Ooh, and there we had Godot crash, which, well, it's lucky it lasted that long. Let's open up again. But yeah, that was also, let me just move it over to her screen. Okay, that was also something that that was a bit interesting that I wasn't aware of. I don't know if you all know, but there's this really cool new feature now, if the scene opens up, where Godot 4 can do auto lodding, so it can like it can decimate the mesh automatically when it gets further away from the camera. But I have that disabled now. That would probably work great for the mountains, for example. But the problem was that it completely destroyed the trees, so that was a bit interesting because the trees, of course, are it's probably pretty difficult to see here. Yeah, but the trees are, of course, made by a bunch of boards for all the leaves. And what the lot decimation would do was that it would destroy all those quads and turn them into triangles instead. So it would destroy half of the tree, and it would do that pretty close to the camera. So just like when you were here or something, the tree would just disappear because it would start decimating the mesh. Yeah, it's way more stable now. Because I've been trying to use it over the last 6 months or something like that. I've been sort of trying every few weeks to see if I could try and do a scene like this. And it's way better now, but it's still really broken. I also normally work on my big screen, on my 4K screen, and the DPI scaling is completely broken. So still pop-up boxes show up in the wrong places all the time and stuff like that. So this pop-up box will always show up somewhere else if you click on it and stuff. So yeah, what else can we talk about? Like the environment, is set up with the new physical sky shader, and I wanted to try and actually write my own sky shader, but I just didn't have the time because yeah, it seems really easy to do that now. Or it is really easy to do that now. You can just convert this to a shader material, and then there'll just be a sky shader that you can just start changing, and you can set how everything is made in that where the sun direction comes from, and you could theoretically write something really cool looking with with volumetric clouds. I've seen that. One of the Godot devs is actually working on that, so I really wanted to try and do that as well, but I just didn't have much time for it. I think for the most part, with regards to making better trees, I think it's mostly just that I need to put some more work into it. So the thing is, I've tried to do trees many times. These are done pretty quickly. So the thing is, you could do a much more fancy looking tree than what I have here. You could just sculpt a really good looking tree in Blender, and then bake all the textures and so on. But what I really wanted to do was just use a single tiling texture for this. So it's like we can open it up in Blender. So I wanted to do a single texture so you could make lots of trees that was just used done with the same texture. So this was an attempt to make a tree in a clever way. Let's see. So here's the tree. So you know, this is the merged together version, but if we look at this, so the idea was, of course, that this is just you can just easily make a new tree when it's put together like this, right? So but I think I just needed to work more on the look. I just needed to, you know, do better materials and do better shapes. I think it's really difficult to do the tree crown the right way. Like I've tried some different things, but I think it's difficult to find. Oh, please don't have something else crash on me now. It's really difficult to find the right density and the right way for the texture to look. So it's a lot of trial and error, and like looking at how other people are doing it. You can see some of these smaller branches, they're actually just 2D as well. So yeah, I'll try and do more trees, but it's tough. But at least it's better now, because you can actually, because as I mentioned first, you know, the custom normals work on the crown. You can see you get this nice look where the sun is really coming in from this side. It's not just these individual pieces, because you know, because I used custom normals. You can see that in here as well, that it gets this special look, because I transferred the normals from the sphere over to the tree crown. So yeah, there's not a whole lot to talk about with this scene. It's not that complicated yet. So you know, this little landscape here that I mentioned before, it also has this. Okay, I clicked the wrong one. Yeah, you know, it has this special shader where I need to do some normal blending to be able to get this effect here, so it understands correctly which side is pointed up and only put snow there. I was planning to, you know, put actual materials for the snow and for the mountain, but it's actually just 2 colors at the moment. So but it's a nice little shader. It was similar to one of the first shaders I did in Godot. So yeah, I don't know if there's any questions. We could also look at some of the scenes I made in Godot 3.3. I have the cellar demo and the desert demo from that as well. Or if there's any interest in the in my add-ons, you might not all know this, but I made the Waterways and the ShellFur add-ons for Godot as well, so we can also talk about them if there's any interest in that. Let me just see, I had a list of stuff here. Yeah. So yeah, I think I mostly just covered what I wanted to talk about with this scene. Oh yeah, when I saw how easy it was to manipulate these fog shaders here, though, I had an idea, which I saved in here as well. Let me just see if I have it. I thought it could be fun to try and make a nuclear explosion with them, but I didn't get any further than this. But this shows you how easy it actually is to do some cool stuff with the fog shaders, the fog volumes in the shaders, because you can just if we look at this here, it's just a shader where I have some random functions that I'm using to create some 3D noise, some FBM noise, yeah, Perlin noise, and then I have a torus shape, and then I'm just scaling that torus shape and putting some noise through it, and then you can get these kind of cool effects. So yeah, there's definitely some cool stuff in Godot 4 that people will enjoy playing around with, I think. Let me just see here. Okay. yeah, another issue and reason I did not work all that much on the scene is that every time I open up project settings on my laptop, Godot freezes and I have to restart. It cannot open it up. It also just in general just freezes and crashes constantly on my laptop. So yeah, there are a lot of problems. It's still rough. I would not use this in any kind of production yet. I know some people are making more serious things already with this, but yeah, it's difficult to work with. Yeah, yeah. I don't know if there's any questions, anything that could be anyone who hasn't tried anything in Godot 4 that want me to look at it. There's new subsurface scattering, and I tried to enable that for the grass, and some of the time it looked pretty good and some of the time it looked strange. Let's see if it's actually active at the moment. Okay, and the text just disappears. That's Godot 4 for you. So yeah, you can see here I've actually just edited out all the alpha stuff, and then instead I'm just discarding if it's outside the alpha texture, because I couldn't get it to work. And that's a shame, because the alpha scissoring is so much better in Godot 4, and it has some anti-aliasing on the alpha scissoring, so things just look so much sharper. But you can't get the depth sorting unless you actually turn it into a shader and go up and enable blah blah blah. No, yeah, okay. The pre-pass. I can talk about that in a second. No, it's fine to ask about waterways. I'll just go into see if I could find this. I was pretty sure that I had done the subsurface scattering in here. We can try and enable it. Yeah, I think the problem is you can't enable let's see if that crashes anything. No, but it is a bit difficult to actually see the difference. I think you could sort of see that it softened things up and made it yeah, you can see it now. Now it's sort of overdone. But it is creating this soft look for it. But it doesn't work if there's any normal transparency, so it wouldn't work if I just used the other alpha clipping or alpha hashing or anything. But yeah, I wanted to try it on the trees, but I never got around to it. So it would be nice to see if you could actually get some of that translucency, so the sun is shining through the back in through the leaves. But yeah, with regards to waterways, let me just see what I know it's not the subject of the video, but do you have any plans for the waterways to be underwater ocean plan? I have no idea how to do these things in Godot. So I've always had a plan to add an underwater effect to waterways. That would actually be really easy to do now in waterways, because it's easy to know in a shader whether you're under the water level, because the whole water level gets saved to a texture. So it would be really easy to just make a post-processing effect where everything looks like slightly wobbly and foggy like underwater, and have that only be in effect when you're under the water level. So I wanted to do that. I haven't gotten around to it. I'm not really sure about oceans, because it's sort of it's a very different thing from the rivers, and like I don't think there'll ever be like a single system that does all of it. So yeah, I'm not sure I'll do oceans. If I were to do oceans, I think it would just be like its own solution just to do that. I don't think it would actually necessarily be directly connected. One thing I have been thinking about, because I've been talking to someone who needs a water system that's way more similar to what they do in City Skylines, is to make a separate water system that acts like that, where it actually can keep track of all the water levels, and you can, if you dig into the terrain, it can fill in I think it's actually pretty interesting to make, and I don't think it's that difficult. The only problem with that is that that system would completely be talking together with the terrain system, and Godot doesn't have a terrain system, so I would have to build it on top of Silence terrain system, for example, which I think he has a great system, and as I talked to Silence, so it wouldn't be the worst thing, but it's just a bit problematic. Then every time he updates it, my add-ons might break or something like that. That's also why Waterways is not connected directly to Silence terrain, because some people wanted it to be so you could draw a river and then have it dig a trough in the terrain, which could be cool, but then I would have to have it like locked together with an add-on, which I don't really want to do. It might cause problems. Yeah, Nightcrow, yeah. So what it is that's rough about it does work well. Like you just get unexpected. You do get a lot of unexpected crashes. Like, and there was one point where every time I was riding in a shader, yeah. And okay, you wondered what was rough. I've had this happen several times, and now the only way to get this to go away, it doesn't. If I close the scene and open it again, it'll be gone for a second, but the whole scene will be crazy. So I have to close the whole thing down and open it back up again. Otherwise, it won't clear. But yeah, it's a lot of small things. Like there was a point where every time I did any change in a shader, it would just give me 10 pop-ups that blocked half the screen. It was like the new error system they have in Godot, which looked really nice, but it made it almost impossible to do anything. Yes, exactly. Yeah, but there's a lot of that. Like everything is working fine, and then suddenly nothing is working, and you get some kind of craziness. Yeah, you can feel that lots of stuff is happening. Like, but if I try to enable screen space reflections now, you might also see that it might just go completely nuts. Maybe it won't do that because I don't have any transparency at the moment. But if you have transparency and enable screen space reflections, everything will just look completely insane suddenly. Yeah, no, this didn't look insane, but it also doesn't do anything because screen space reflections is just so super broken. The ambient occlusion is way better. We can have these are really nice. These are the new debug views you have. So if we look at the SSAO, we can see, and it's so much faster and it's so much better than the one in 3.x or 3.4, what we're at now. But yeah, there's lots of them. They're really practical if you're trying to do the yeah, this might show you a little bit what I'm doing with the normals on the trees if we run the normal buffer. But yeah, this is so practical. All the buffers just work. You can quickly switch between them. It's so nice if you need to work on the lighting as well, so it's really good. I wish we had a better wireframe view. I wish that in 3 as well. Like if you could choose between a wireframe view like this that's material, but also one that's just black and white in some way that makes sense, so it's a bit easier to actually see the wireframe. But yeah, I think that's about it. Yeah, the one thing I might want to mention here is for the fog to look like as dense and detailed as I get it, which is not very dense, but to be able to get these kind of like clumps and stuff, you actually needed to put the quality of the fog really high, so it needed to be set to a higher resolution in the project settings as well. Let me see if I can find that. I think it's on the environment. Yeah, volumetric fog, like that's by default is 64, and then you can see it's just these blobs here. So I have that. Oh, okay, all the way up to 512, which I think is max. So yeah, it sure is. I've been struggling and surviving on my my old GPU for years and years. It was a 970, but then I was lucky and got a 980 Ti from my friend, which is which means at least I'm sort of surviving. I would love to get a new one as well, but cryptocurrencies are fucking with us all. But yeah, but no, if there's no other questions, well, one thing we could talk a little bit about is just we can open it up and have a look. I don't know if everybody's seen some of my other stuff, but we can open up some old Godot. One thing that I'm pretty excited about, but I haven't looked at it much yet, is my fur add-on. So this is just Godot 3.4, but okay, if it would open up. Why is it not opening up? So I'm really excited to try and upgrade this to Godot 4 at some point soon, because there's a lot of like different things that I couldn't do when I made the fur add-on. So there's some stuff that might be really interesting with compute shaders, where I might be able to make characters with blend shapes actually work because that doesn't work at the moment. If you have blend shapes animating a character's face, for example, the fur wouldn't follow it. That's one of the problems. And also like a better physics-based movement. I have some basic physics where if we move around a character here, I don't know if we can see that. Isn't that active right now? Should be. But yeah, I have some basic physics where the fur moves a little bit, but I should be able to do much better physics because of the way they've changed some of the shader stuff, so you can pass in arrays and stuff like that. So there's lots of cool stuff I would like to do with the fur add-on in Godot 4. Also, I'd love to try and make some kind of strand-based hair thing, so you could like something more modern, like what they're doing in. If you've seen the new FIFAs, they're doing real hair that's moving around, but you sort of need some kind of tessellation solution for that, and we are not getting that in Godot 4. We need some kind of mesh shaders, or we also really need that for like, it would be really good for the water as well. It would make it way easier to make the make the water more detailed when you get closer to it, and do proper displacement rather than just only basic normal mapping and stuff like that. So that I'm really sad that they didn't go for something where you could change the vertex, change the mesh on the GPU side, because we still don't have that. So that's a bit of a shame. But yeah, I'm really looking forward to playing more around with this, and I'm really looking forward to playing more around with Waterways. So my big issue with Waterways at the moment is that I still need to make a new mesh generation algorithm to be able to have rivers split and merge and go into lakes and out of lakes. And I tried to write the new mesh generation for that, the new algorithm for that, and I got very stuck on that. That was very tough, and I got very demotivated. I also need a new system for calculating the flow maps, but I think I can work that out. But yeah, I just need to get back to that at some point. Yeah, I was pretty pleased with that as well when I saw you could put in a little alpha map of the shape. Then I thought I could be inside the robot. Yeah. All right. Let's see here. Okay. Yeah, and like another thing that we could I could try and do soon, at least in Godot, would be to try and update the fantasy seller. I think I'll try and do that. The way I set it up just made it a little bit difficult to update it. Just give me a second. I'll move this over. It would be really nice to see what this actually looks like in Godot 4 with yes, so So JB, yeah, so this was basically supposed to have been a new how good can I make Godot look, but I just didn't have time to make a full scene, so that was why I sort of made some tests in Godot 4. So I definitely want to do more of these. They take a crazy amount of time and work. Like this is the most complete one I made, right? The seller one. Oh, that was wrong. And this took okay, I apparently cannot click on anything right now. Normal, there we are. This just took like this took a month almost to make, just like full time, just working on that, just making assets, and just because it's just me and I wanted to do all the assets myself, right? And I don't want to take any shortcuts with add-ons and stuff, so they just take forever. But I think especially this one I was super proud of, so I would love to make more. It takes a lot of time, and what I'd love to do was maybe make some that are directly related to a game I'm actually working on, so I can so it's like I still want to give them away and like share them. People can download all these assets for free and use them as they want, but I would love for it to actually be something that I can just keep working on that can go into a game. So I sort of have to make some decisions about what I actually want to work on for a longer period of time for a game. Other than that, I really want to get back to some of my smaller tutorial videos, which I have been very much falling off of making. I used to try and sort of put one out every few weeks, every month, but I haven't been putting any out. There's luckily lots of cool new stuff to explore with shaders in Godot 4 as well, so I can make some of that. As you might know if you've been following my videos, otherwise I absolutely love working on Material Maker. So I'll definitely be doing more work on tutorial for Material Maker. I'm putting in a lot of work on making new little features in Material Maker, and like I'm putting a lot of work into trying to update the theme to make it look more modern in Material Maker, because it's just such a good piece of software, and I just want everybody to know about it and use it, because it's really getting to a point where like all the materials here are made in Material Maker. Like you can really do a professional PBR workflow with Material Maker, and it's just getting better and better now when undo redo is finally coming in, and like the painting systems are getting way more complicated, so you can do a lot of really cool stuff. So you can do AAA stuff with only using Blender and Material Maker and Godot, which I think is just super cool. That we can do, well, AAA, but we can do stuff that's very that looks like modern PBR rendering, right? I'm really happy to hear that. That's great. Yeah, I know many more Material Maker videos coming, so but I'll try and mix it up a little bit. Yeah, I know, and it's super cool that Rod got the Epic Mega Grant for Material Maker. That's super nice, yeah, and he'll be able to put way more time into it. So yeah, Material Maker is going to the moon. So so that's great. Yep. No, I think I'll end it here. This was my first ever stream, so this was fun. I'm hoping to try and maybe do some Material Maker streams, because that's like a good fun thing to just open up Material Maker and try and look at some reference and do a material for an hour or two or something. So I'll try and do that in the coming weeks, I think. But other than that, hopefully I'll put out some tutorial videos. But thank you so much everybody for tuning in, and thanks so much for the Godot Jam team for inviting me here, and I hope you're all looking on all the other videos that's part of this. So so that's great. Thank you guys, and have a good one.